sign a release form or a waiver, and if you haven't done that, go over and see Dawn, please, and do that right away. She's right there. And we hope that you have an ID with you. They haven't checked their IDs in the past, but they do say everybody's supposed to know who they are and carry an ID with them. My name is Tom Shepard, and I want to welcome everybody here on behalf of the Southeast Environmental Task Force and the Lake Calumet Vision Committee, which will tell you a little bit more about that in a couple of moments. Just a couple of housekeeping things first. I want to tell you that we're going to be met right out front here by 2 school buses, which are then going to transport us out that way, roughly a half a mile or so. We can't all take our cars over. We did that one year and it was pure bedlam. And so now we organize everything for people to get on a bus. They like it that way. It's neat and tidy. Everybody gets there at the same time. And then we're going to commence with our hike. And I'm going to introduce some of our hike leaders in a moment. But first I want to also say on the buses, some people, it was a little nicer yesterday than it is today. The good news is it's not raining out there. And we have actually had worse April 22nds than this one today, where it was windier and colder, but it's not, at least it's not too cold today. But one of the buses, we're going to ask them if they would, for those that want to take a shortened hike, we'll ask that bus to come back here with folks, or if you have to take a potty break, there's no washrooms, so there are washrooms here, nice ones just down the hallway here. So if anybody needs to come back, we'll say about 10:45, one of the buses will bring people back. And if you really have an emergency or something, they have accommodated us at, always, so no problem with that. Otherwise, the hike is going to end at about noon. We're going to ask everybody to be back at the buses at noon. We won't be hiking very far. It's not a real rugged, long hike. It's more of an educational or an experience of being out here. What's the value in being out here? What's important about that is that you might have noticed when you came in that there's a big barbed wire or concertina wire fence around this whole perimeter here. And it's under lock and key, except if you're playing a round of golf or if you get special permission like we are today. This is our 5th annual Earth Day hike out here. And we do this for a couple of reasons. Number one reason is to give everybody a chance to get out and explore nature and experience something that's right here in our backyard that many, many people didn't know. Anybody here that lives not too far away and hasn't been out here in the past? Yeah, look at all that. You drive by on the expressway all the time, there's big berms out there. Who would know? Who would know that we have Chicago's other lake right out here? And I would like to call your attention to 2 maps up here. One is from 1960, when the lake was a big round thing like this, and before the Chicago fire and before George Pullman built his town right across the way here and began to fill in the lake, it was even larger than this. Of course, it's been altered, filled in, abused, and everything else, every other verb you can think of, until it looks like this crazy configuration here. And this was all done, we're on the property of the Illinois and Chicago jointly owned Illinois International Port District. It was formed in the 50s to accommodate ocean-going sea vessels. There still is some industry at the south end of the lake over here, but this part of the lake is very shallow out here, so it doesn't accommodate the large boats. But there still is some industry up there, and our endeavor is to get at least 282 acres of this property open to the public. We've been working on this. Our Lake Calumet Vision is almost 20 years old, so we didn't just start this yesterday. Some of you have been with us on other hikes out here, and some of you know already that we've been working for a long time to try to persuade the Port District to give this up over here, at least the north portion that is not being used by for shipping. It hasn't been easy. We go to a lot of their board meetings, we talk to them, we want to ask when it's going to happen. We thought it actually did happen a year ago in October when we had the mayor and the governor. At that time was Governor Pat Quinn, and we had a big signing ceremony, and the state was going to take over these 282 acres, some of which we'll be exploring today, and a portion of the East Bank as well. And well, they inked the deal, and then we had what was called an election the next month in November, and guess who didn't come back in January for the next term? That was Pat Quinn. We ended up with a new governor who tore up that deal, said the state is broke, we're not going to make that deal, we're not going to transfer the property, so we're back to square one. And I had to tell you all that because we're looking for advocates to, whenever, if you get a petition sent to you or a request or something, contact your state rep or the governor or the Department of Natural Resources or whoever to ask them to finalize this deal and get this open to the public, because it really should be something that could be enjoyed by all of us, by all the public, not only golfers that can play for $85 or whatever it costs to play a round of golf out here. Any folks that just came in, let me remind you to please fill out a release form over there. Can't come unless these counts match up to your release form and body count. So our other partners here, and I'm going to ask them to come up in just a minute, but first of all, we have somebody who's a local birding expert, is Walter Marsich. Where's Walter? Will you raise your hand, Walter? Walter's over there in the dark. And Walter will be out with us. He has, are you setting up a scope out there today, Walter?
If you insist.
It's
easier to take the scope around in a car. In the bus, it's really kind of a fancy.
We'll work that out, okay? John Pasterik is, he's the head steward over at Eggers Grove Forest Preserve. John's at that table too. Raise it a little higher, John. John is a tree expert, and he's, well, he's out in the woods and the trails his entire life practically, every day. So John is going to lead a portion of the tour and be able to do some IDing for you, and he'll point out other special points of interest. Margaret, we want to thank Margaret Renas from Delta Institute for providing coffee and rolls today. And Margaret, her company has been doing some sampling and testing out here, so that once we get this back on the road and toward accomplishing this deal, we're going to have it tested and make sure everything. Can you just tell us what might have to occur? Is it some kind of a what we have to do before?
Yeah, so there have been some samples taken out here of the soil, the groundwater, the sediment, which tells us that there is some contamination out here that would ultimately have to be cleaned up. But we'd have to do a lot more investigation to figure that all out. And cleaning it up is big work, and that can take years in some cases. But there's all kinds of methodologies that are part of that so that the site would be safe for the environment and safe for people who use it.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. And I want to point out John Hura from Alderman Sue Sadlowski Garza's office. And we know the Alderwoman is going to be behind our efforts 1,000%.
1,000%.
Okay, good. Well, we're glad to have you with us on our team. Way over in the back there, Christopher Stein. Raise your hand or stand up. Christopher is with the National Park Service, and he's one of the staff over at Pullman. Now that Pullman has been named a national monument, it's a special place. So President Obama was out here a little over a year ago to sign that deal and make Pullman a national monument. And the significance in that is that we have two distinctive national parks or monuments in this area, one here and one at the dunes. And hopefully one day we're going to be able to ride a bridge right over from Pullman across the lake and on into Indiana throughout the Calumet region. And we have some brochures over there. Thanks, Chris. To be able to do that, we have some historical brochures that you can help yourself to. the importance of this as being a national heritage corridor. Where's Sherry Meyer?